Hi, my name is Lloyd Norman. I'm the Vice President of Strategic Solutions at Prosymmetry. Thank you for joining me today. I'm here to talk about Agile resource capacity planning, specifically for audit departments. I work with Tempus Resource. It's our premier resource portfolio management solution. We have a presence across many industries globally. As you can see, these are some of the logos from some of the companies that are using our product currently. We are installed around the world, and many of these logos, we have a presence in enterprise IT or audit shops. Some of these are professional services firms. We have a wide variety of customers, basically anybody that has skills or resources with skills that are specialized, that they need to make sure they are working on the highest value work with a limited number of resources. We can help. And so obviously, many different industries are in that situation. So let's talk about audit planning agility specifically. We have a lot of audit entities that plan their work sort of in a traditional fashion. They come out with an annual audit plan, and then they immediately start to adjust their plans because things change in the business. They're tied to the execution of specific projects. They need to coordinate with people that aren't auditors that have specific skill sets that can help engage the audit process, perhaps someone with specific cybersecurity skills or specific IT skills, and those people get rearranged onto other projects. Well, that impacts the audit delivery plan as well. So the question is, how can we truly be agile to A, get out in front of those changes, or B, when those changes occur, quickly and effectively adjust our audit plan to where we can at any given time give the senior audit executive a clear presentation of, look, even though we've had these adjustments, this is where we're going for the next 12 months. These are the highest priority items that we're working on, and here's how we're staffed to do that. It's an important consideration, and it really has ramifications throughout the audit delivery process. Of course, we want to be able to make sure that we are focused on the highest value work from an audit perspective, but we also need to make sure that we're not losing sight of employee engagement. And what are we doing to specific auditors? If we have specific auditors that are required for certain types of work, and we're continually over allocating them, then that's not a very healthy retention plan. So we need to look at not only are they overworked, but how many unique audits are they assigned to? Because if there's anything that we've learned over the course of the last year, the Harvard Business Review indicated that 47 million people, according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics in America, have, of their own volition, changed jobs this year. We need to make sure that we are addressing why people are participating in the Great Resignation, if you will. And a lot of that has to do with job satisfaction, burnout, if you will. And burnout is not just overwork. Of course it's overwork, but it's control in my job. How many different things are you asking me to do simultaneously? And once you get over 3 or 4 tasks simultaneously, not only do people become much less efficient, but their perceived satisfaction with their job begins to drop dramatically. So if you're looking at audit planning, you need to, of course, be looking at what's the sequence of work? Am I addressing the most important work? But the other question is, how am I affecting my people? And we'll talk about both of those things today. All right, there was a very interesting article, which many of you may have seen already. This was produced by Gartner. They went out and interviewed close to 200 senior audit executives, and they said, for 2022, what are my top 12 challenges? And here they are, right? I commend this article to you. I went through briefly and said, look, just at first cut, it's clear that 3/4 of these things we, meaning Tempus Resource, implemented properly in an audit organization, can positively affect. And you might say, well, wow, that's a lot, right? Talk to me a little bit more about that. And look, I can't solve world hunger, but let's just pick a couple of these things. You know, this first one, attracting talent with non-traditional audit skills. That's very important, right? Because we're getting more and more complex. I mentioned cybersecurity earlier, and I'll pick on that as an example. You know, what are you doing as an audit talent attraction process to get people with these very specialized skills to engage in audit? And one of the selling points that you can provide is, look, you're going to work a normal work week for us, right? Because people coming out of the cybersecurity realm, if you will, they're used to working 60, 70-hour weeks, I can promise you. It's a very specialized skill set. And so back to the whole great resignation comment, look, if you can, with confidence, tell them, look, you're going to be working 40, 45-hour weeks and deliver on that promise, you know, consistently, then it's a great retention plan. It's a great attraction plan, if you will, also. Keeping pace with an expanded risk universe with stagnant or reduced resources. We will show you a very easy, clean, and innovative way to plan your people. And it's a rolling planning process, right? You're continually adjusting to delays in project delivery, people going out on leaves, those sorts of things, in a dynamic way that always allows you to say with confidence, we are addressing the highest value work with the resources that we have. And we can also tell you where, if you were to give us certain specialized resources, or if we're to go into a add on to the gig marketplace, if you will, and bring in 2 or 3 people with these kinds of skills, these are the extra kinds of projects or audits that we might be able to deliver this year. So it's very applicable directly to the majority of the challenges that were identified by Gartner and senior audit executives for 2022. All right, so one of the things that we can allow you to do easily is to see if you've got staff available based not only on, hey, how many hours a day do they have left, but what about their skills? What about their experience? What if you have auditors spread over multiple countries? Are they in the right location? What's their availability? Who can I co-source for this? Do I normally go to a consistent vendor when we're doing work in Germany, as an example? And if so, what's the rate? If I can't get any of my people to fly over there, then if I'm going to pay a higher than normal rate, what does that do to my budget overall? So you get to see all of those things dynamically in a very clear environment. As you look to add people to your audits, it's nice because you can immediately see if people are available. If you put in the name of a person or even a role of a person, you can see immediately, oh, these people are over allocated. What can I do about that? You can assign people to specific tasks. Even if you're not tied directly to the project, you know that you've got field work to do, you've got process reviews, control reviews. And if you want, you can create tasks and assign people to tasks. You don't have to. You can just put people directly on projects. You can also, if you want, tie directly to project and portfolio management systems or GRC type systems. I'm going to show you an example of that here in just a minute. But this is a subset of the type of interfaces that we regularly work with from a resource planning perspective. Again, it's acknowledged by many in the industry that we are the leader in resource planning across portfolios, and audit would be one of those portfolios. And so many, whether they're working in the Agile space, doing things with Jira or Azure DevOps, or more traditional waterfall projects with Microsoft Project, or any of a number of these tools down here, will want to interface with us to take advantage of the adaptable Agile processes that we're going to be talking about today for the next 20 minutes or so. So here's one example. We've got Teammate from Wolters Kluwer, and you can see if you're a Teammate Plus user, the screen looks very familiar. We'll bring that over, and we can bring it over in any number of different views. We have sort of a traditional view where you see the Gantt chart here, start and stop dates for specific audits. You can look at this strictly in a tabular view where you can see things like percentage complete, those sorts of things. You can shift project times, or if in fact you are looking to move into more agile processes as traditionally defined, where you are using either an audit portfolio Kanban or an audit program Kanban, we will certainly accommodate that view as well. And it's really nice because you can just drag and drop your projects as they move through states, right? Or anybody that has access to this tool, if you've got senior auditors on your projects and they're managing these states, they can come in and drag and drop that as well based on the permissions that you give them. So let's talk about some of the real advantages of using a resource portfolio management tool like Tempus to help manage your work. If you look here on the left, this represents all the things that theoretically you should be concerned about. Certainly if you're looking at things from a scaled agile framework, right? These are what SAFe likes to call guardrails, so to speak. You've got a set of audit priorities here, whatever that may be, right? You know, I've got to do my ops audit first before I get into the regulatory stuff or the finance, whatever. But you've got these things stack ranked, right? If, in fact, your audit plan is not yet interacting with resources, meaning forecasting which people or which roles are going to be on what projects, you should begin doing that immediately. How else can you know whether or not you have people available, right? So a lot of times this is done in multiple Excel spreadsheets. What we propose is do that inside of Tempus. I'll show you here in a minute how that works. Very easy, very Excel-like. And once you put it into a centralized resource planning tool, you get all kinds of fun benefits, which I will show you. You have the in-flight audit roadmap, which is consistently changing. Again, you likely have produced some sort of a roadmap that you're planning on doing, sort of best case at the first of the year, traditional audit plan, if you will. But things change. And so that's an input to your recurring planning process as well. Hopefully you're looking at strategic audit type mix, right? However, your senior audit executive has requested this be viewed. For example, if you want to make sure that you've got a certain percentage of your resources doing IT audits versus finance audits, doing versus ops audit, right? Those sorts of things. And then what are the budget impacts? But what we're recommending, and what I'll show you here in a minute, is look, you take your current state, and on a routine basis, typically monthly, you look at what's happening, right? If I've got audits pushing, if I've got audits being pulled in, if I need to crash an audit, let's talk about that, right? Let's look at the concurrency. How many audits do people with certain skill sets have, right? Then you make those adjustments in real time, and all of that is done in a modeling environment. Once you determine how you want to change your audit plans and you get that reviewed by everybody involved, then essentially you update your real audit plan and everybody can go out. And always be assured that if they're looking at your real audit plan, they know that it's current with the best information that you can give them. So let me, if I may, shift here and show you a little bit of what I'm talking about. So this is typical of an audit plan. It's a roadmap. Tempus has a very sophisticated roadmapping capability, but it's very easy to come in and build multiple roadmaps. I built one for an audit plan. This is the entire enterprise portfolio, if you want to see that. And this may be relevant, right? Because you're tied oftentimes to project delivery. And so this is representative of all kinds of work being delivered across the entire enterprise, across multiple portfolios You can see here's the regulatory and risk portfolio, the state and local portfolio, and you can categorize this based on any project attribute. What I did in this particular case was I said, show me the portfolio, show me the business objective, and show me the Kanban state, right, where they are. And so if you're familiar with Agile delivery Kanbans, these particular entities are analyzing, they're in the MVP state, they're in the full implementation state. We are able to mix both Agile project delivery and waterfall project delivery and operational staffing and delivery onto the same roadmap, onto the same timeline. It's an incredible convenience that the right kind of automation gives you, and it's a unique benefit to using Tempus. All right, so let's pop back out here to this audit plan, which again is operating off of the same data that we used for the enterprise portfolio. All I've done is just filter it on, show me those that are currently in an ongoing audit state. So similar, I broke this out to the overall portfolio. Here's the regulatory and risk portfolio that I'm looking at right now. We can slide down and see the IT portfolios and others, but let's focus on this. Again, you can see the Kanban state, but now also the audit state, right? This particular audit's in the planning and strategy state. This one's in awaiting executive review, right? We've got several doing field work down here. A couple of things I want to show you real quickly. What's nice about getting this view is it's tied to the same data that everybody else is seeing in terms of overall project delivery, right? So if you're tied to a specific project, then you're going to be on the same timelines. You may have an audit plan that is independent of project delivery, and that's fine too. You have that option. Either way, you'll see some things here that are very helpful. For example, on this Romeo Phase 5 initiative, you see the checked lines here, if you will. That says that there's an issue, actually, from a resource perspective. If you click on this, you'll see, oh my goodness, we've got a lot of resources that are currently wildly overallocated. Now, of course, I did this for demonstration purposes, but it really shows two things. Somebody like Mary is 300% overallocated, which is untenable, of course. But we also break down their concurrency overallocations, and you can set thresholds here. I currently set mine at 5. So it's pulling up anybody, even if they were only 100% allocated. You'd still be getting flagged here because they're allocated over too many separate audits to be working simultaneously. And you may choose to let them go ahead and execute this way, but we're going to present you with that risk so that you can make the call, right? You know, maybe they're okay. Maybe they've been swinging away at this for 20 years and they're okay doing 5 of these simultaneously. But others, newer to the organization, you might only want to have 2 at a time, right? You can always go directly into the project from here. And I wanted to show you how easy it was just to add anybody to a project. You can see the project dates, obviously. You can show, again, if you're working in an Agile area, you can see the velocity of teams. You can add teams, people, roles, all to the same effort. And it's very easy. Just check out the project, pop down here and say, hey, you know, I want to add somebody like Abigail, right? And so immediately you'll see, boy, I haven't even put a minute on Abigail, but she's red here, right? So she's overallocated. Maybe this is not a good choice, right? Let's go see what she's working on. Holy cow. Look at all the stuff she's working on, all these separate initiatives. Certainly, you know, for the next 8 months, it looks like she's highly overallocated. So probably not a good choice there. Well, I can also see too, well, somebody wisely came in here doing some pre-planning and said, we're going to need an auditor in here. About 40% we think of an auditor's time is going to be needed. It's got to occur during this project because we want to build in controls that are consistent with the software that they're designing. That makes sense. Well, it's a generic role, and we need to replace that with a person. So if we come in here and say resource replace, we can see some different options for people that we might want to put on this project. And now we can say, well, how interesting. We get to see not just their role, but what are their skill sets? How nice is that? I'm looking for a senior auditor, and I can see over here, based on my heat map, that Tony Moreno is available. You know, I really need someone with skill set 1. I wish Tony was stronger in skill 2, but if he had good industry experience, then it's probably not going to matter. So let's go out here and look at some of the other characteristics that we might want to look at. Let's look at industry experience, right? Now we can see, actually, this is a federal contract. And if he has a lot of experience in the government sector, and you know he's got reasonably high skills in the area that I need, Tony's probably a good guy to be putting in here. So we'll select Tony and simply replace that auditor with Tony. So we'll choose that, and we're off to the races out here. Tony's in, auditor's out. All right. Let me pop back here to the presentation. Those are the kinds of things that you can do easily in Tempus that help you to make sure that you're taking care of your people while you're taking care of your work. Now, I want to dive in on this part here a little bit, this modeling, because this is actually really powerful. When you're modeling work, you can easily see what you can and cannot do dynamically. If a new effort comes in, those of you that are in regulated industries, this is probably a very familiar scenario. But if you have work that was unplanned that walked in the door, and they say, look, we have to start this audit next month, come what may, then wouldn't it be nice to be able to go out to a tool that says, well, what does that really mean for us? How is that going to impact all the other work that we're doing? And that's what the Tempus what if modeling allows you to do. For example, I've pulled up essentially all of our corporate resources here. Got them broken out by skill set. We've got project analysts, subject matter experts, etc. Our audit department falls under corporate support. And if we look out here over the June through October timeframe, our senior auditors are over allocated. We're looking at this in terms of FTE, or essentially, 0.7 of a person over allocated. You can look at that by percentage, if you want. They're 135% over allocated as a team. Well, who's out there? We essentially have Angel and Tony out there as senior auditors. Well, what's this? What this is that demand planning resource, that generic resource, if you will. And we can see that we put a planning resource, not a named resource, on this PMO governance initiative because we are required to start this thing quick, fast, and in a hurry. So we say, well, that's all well and good, but my people, and I've got to have a senior auditor on this, are over allocated. What might I do if, for example, I were to shift this work out? And what's handy is all of this is happening without impacting your live roadmap data. You can see before and after exactly what the implications are, right? Not just for the audit resources, but for every other resource that might be needed to help with that auditor, right? So before and after for developers, the project manager that's working on the project, right? And audit as well. Very, very handy. You can also say, hey, well, what's going to happen if we crash this? Like, let's bring this in, and the whole audit effort needs to be done, in a much shorter time frame. What happens if we want to go out here and look at adding, a particular person, right? If they're 162% allocated in August, what happens if we add, another person 8 hours a day? Let's get a preview. Well, it's going to drop them down to 81%, right? So there's a ton of what-if analysis that you can do with an interface that's very, very easy to use. And then if you like these things, simply hit apply and they'll update your model, right? Very, very handy to use. This kind of a tool has allowed customers really across all those industries that I talked about to save a ton of time and money. It helps them optimize continuously the kind of work that they're doing. This is just one quick example from Siemens. They are one of our Tempus customers. In this particular case, they expect to complete 35% more projects over a 10-year period, specifically due to Tempus. They're able to pull in 3 major product development audits, move those forward by a year, because they've been able to go out and model that work right and say, look, if we do, you'll pull this in, all the other resources that are needed for these projects, it affects them as well, but we can tell you how, right? And the value that we drive by doing this earlier is going to offset potentially any other changes that we make from a staffing perspective downstream. It's very common for entities, whether they are predominantly looking at audits or projects, whatever, to see tremendous advantages in efficiency by using a tool like Tempus. If you look at Lloyd, they've indicated that they believe that they can get 55% more projects through their pipeline by using a planning tool like Tempus. So I'm nearing the end of the presentation here. Just wanted to also point out that we have a ton of integrated executive reporting and dashboard capabilities as well. You can show how your audits are performing based on where you are in any particular country or worldwide. Literally hundreds of widgets and that sort of thing from an executive reporting perspective as well. All right, well, let me go back to full screen here and say, look, if we're talking again about traditional Agile methodology and parlance, simplicity, the art of maximizing the work not done, if you will. That's one of the great advantages that you get with Tempus. You also obviously have the ability to manage your capacity, to do what if, track skills matrix, to do easy resource staffing. All of those are readily available to you as you use Tempus, the goal being that you can always make sure that you are optimizing delivery of your audits consistent with your audit plan and senior audit executive expectations in a rolling wave planning environment. So things change, of course. It was Dwight Eisenhower that said that plans are nothing, but planning is everything, right? And I think anybody that's done portfolio management, whether from a project perspective or an audit perspective, or in many cases, where those worlds meet, would agree with that comment. So we're simply here to make sure that as you deliver the most value in terms of audits provided over a given time frame for the highest urgency of audits, that you are also taking care of your people along the way and making sure that you're making the best use of your resources or any other resources that you might need to pull in to assist with your overall audit planning. So that's my message for the day. Thank you for your time. I would encourage you, if you want more information, to run out to prosymmetry.com. Feel free to email or contact me or anybody directly at Prosymmetry. We'll be happy to set up a demo for you and put a trial in place. We do 90-day trials all the time because Prosymmetry is very easy to adopt and implement. We'd be happy to work with you on that. Thanks so much for your time. Bye now.